Welcome back, guys. We had a couple of crazy games in a row, and the comp that drafts the Zoe, Ezreal, Tom Kent is just not winning up against the Yasuo, the Swain that was taken over by KT on the red side. I feel like game number 3 might just be won in the draft. It's been a very even fight between these two teams, but eventually you see what happens. UCal on the Yasuo this time in game number 2 just gets way too far ahead and carries the game himself.
But much, much later than this highlight clip may have led you to believe. And the difference between the two games was that KT made significantly more mistakes with their draft than Afreeca Freecs did in game number 1. This could definitely have been won by Afreeca. So many close moments, a suicide onto the Nexus to delay. But by the end, you're right, the inevitability of the team fights, and the Yasuo in particular was able to run over. But that means if you put all those variables together, if we get 2 even drafts, so far Afreeca have executed better. Afreeca might be the marginal favorite going into game number 3. But I was in Twitch chat asking for predictions, and I think a lot of people were asking the better question than just saying hashtag Afreeca win or hashtag KT win of can I do it after the drafts? Because we don't deny that Ezreal and Zoe can be power picks. Where they've been drafted together and when they've been drafted is what's really shut down their ability to be the same value that we've seen in earlier drafts.
Yeah. I feel like Afreeca definitely put up a bit of a better fight up against this draft. They brought it much later. They had a pretty decent chance, actually, to win this game number 2. It just went a little bit too long. They weren't able to take out the Nexus. It was very, very close. They got a bunch of Barons, nice steals out of Mowgli to keep everything alive, but unfortunately, in the end, the later game composition, even with an engage like this, it just didn't matter. They just took Smeb totally out of the fight before it even started 5v5. It was 3v5 in KT. UCal alone even, able to just take down everyone. Look at this. Knocks up 2, takes them out, aiming. He hops in, and UCal's like, hey, okay, fresh meat, here we go.
You missed my favorite part, which is that Score rolled in and missed the cast.
Yeah.
He actually didn't impact the fight at all. It really was a 1v4. That was really funny. Well,
nicely done.
Late game Yasuo, I guess.
They don't need anyone except 68,000 damage points from the Yasuo. Nearly a 50-minute game. I feel like we're on a different patch, but this is the way it's been going in this series, at least. It's going to be really interesting to see. You know, I wanted to highlight the Zoe versus Swain matchup. The Swain really didn't do much. It was all about the Yasuo getting too far ahead.
And I wonder if that number, I don't know if we have the stats easy to access, but I've seen huge numbers, 80,000 damage. I've seen a lot of ranged poking champions. You think of lethality Varus metas, Ezreal metas. I don't know if I've ever seen a melee champion get to 68,000 damage. That is an insane number of a Conqueror, all the indirect buffs to Yasuo, and just the nature of the game. The new IE and Conqueror together means that fights against Mundos and tanky targets, he racks up the damage numbers.
Shreds through even the tankiest of them all, even the Mundo. And here we go. MVP from game number 2. It is going to be UCal, to the surprise of nobody. Your Yasuo gets ahead, he earns all the honor from your team, and he also gets the MVP. When you're playing at SPO, 14,000, or rather 1,400 damage per minute. 14,000 would be a little bit over the mark, but sitting at 2nd in MVP points very comfortably is UCal.
That's a big arrow at the top. I haven't seen that before. Nice SPO TV production right there. I assume he's gotten a title that they're pointing to, but your Korean better than mine, Valdez.
Yeah.
Is it some play on his name about how he's a god? Can we just assume that?
I think it just means that he's like amazing Yasuo or something like that. I didn't understand the word itself, but the parts kind of were like big and awesome. So I'll assume it was that big and awesome level, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, he's one of our rookies here, I suppose. Not his first season, but
first year.
His first year, and he's able to pick it up, and we are going to have a player change. I wonder who it's going to be. It is going to be Kramer, actually, in the bottom side. To be honest, aiming, he made a couple of big mistakes. The Dragon fight, he got caught out by Smeb, and the last fight where he just eats straight into the Yasuo instead of trying to poke him out. Definitely feel like they need Kramer to come in and pick up the scraps.
Brings in a bit of a different champion pool as well. I wonder if he'll return to Marksman this game. We'll wait and see. Afreeca will be on the red side, so much higher potential that he'll just take a flex pick and flex it to bot lane, a Swain, a Yasuo, something like that. Darius, one that he's played in the bot lane. When these two teams met the last time, he played bot lane GP, if you remember, way back when against a Mordekaiser. So he's definitely ready to get a bit crazy. As we're going to be going late, I think, again tonight, Valdez. It is our 15th game out of a possible 15 since the best of 3 started 2 days ago. And nowhere I'd rather be than front row center for game number 3 between KT and Afreeca. This was the semifinal of LCK Spring 2018. Feels like a while ago. Let's see how this pick ban for game number 3 goes. I have a feeling it's going to be a bit different.
Would have to predict the same. Let's jump into pick and ban for game number 3. Here we go. Another ban onto the Kindred, this time by KT Rolster. Game 3.
Let's see what Afreeca Freecs want to ban, because the Aatrox no one is allowed to play. I saw it played in Europe with the hotfix, and it was pretty scary. Didn't win every game, but bounce level certainly too damn high. But that one's going to be banned. Will it just be what is the new standard of red side bans? It feels like we have an established patch, and I think 7.13 is going to be here for a while. It's not uncommon to have the red side bans be pretty inflexible. Nocturne, Taliyah, and Aatrox have been the 3 we've seen most reliably. KT going to ban away the Shen, so the Kindred is the new ban that's joined the side for KT, and Afreeca bans the standard. What does this mean for the candidacy of Zoe, who has been first pick to a loss on blue side twice in a row? I much prefer what we are seeing, which is Smeb locking in the Swain, a first pick that was very, very flexible. Speaking of flex picks, we kind of expected this with Kramer in the lineup being on red side. You grab the Vladimir and you work out the details later.
Yeah. Swain, much better first pick, would have to agree. Zoe kind of holds you into a certain type of comp. You have to pick stuff around her, maybe grab an Ezreal. Swain, you can put him in mid, you can put him in top even. A lot of the time he's in the bottom lane and just farms up there and is a big threat in the team fight. He's just really, really solid, very high up on the tier list right now. The Vladimir, it did push through the pick and ban on game 2, but wasn't picked. Was banned in game 1 by KT Rolster, but this time around, Afreeca, with it not banned and Kindred banned instead, they picked that up here.
And I feel like the increasing priority might be on champions like Gragas and Morgana in the first round because of their flex nature. Going to be the Morgana here. Could be Kramer's champion still, so still plenty of ambiguity from the Afreeca side. Do wonder if Kuro, we've mentioned a couple of times the power of first round Mundo and then double banning Mundo counters, could still see that from either KT or the Afreeca Freecs. KT might be dropping the first jungler and seem to be looking over Sejuani, so Sejuani priority going a bit down. This would be the combination of Swain and Trundle. Maybe we'll see a Swain mid lane and Trundle jungle for the first time as a duo in a little while. Daddy Yukal was coined based on his Swain play. They might be back on Swain this game.
You definitely feel that way after, he's played just so much of the Swain, but Def did pick it up in game number 2. Yukal picking up the Yasuo, and Tom Kench for the 3rd time tonight going to be picked up as the 3rd pick on the blue side. It has 2 losses. KT's draft definitely looks different around it. We'll see if it can take a win tonight.
Doesn't mean you can't just take Zoe at this pick and start banning away if you're Afreeca Freecs, but it would be very heavy on magic damage, so I understand the thoughts both ways. Thinking what Afreeca will pick up, and it's just going to be Darius as a power pick on the red side. Keen's had enough of taking the dog side of the matchup, and he wants to go for a big carry. Now Kramer's played it in the bot lane, so outside chance. This will be a bot lane Darius, but outside of Faker and Kramer, it hasn't really been a common thing. 4-1, you're seeing his Keen's record on the Darius, not including some great performances at Rift Rivals. He's 5-2 overall in summer season.
That sign just said Afreeca Freecs Kramer. The Kramer was in green. Not sure about the reference there, as he's part of the Afreeca Freecs, which are blue. Maybe thinking about a different team. Jin Green Wings picking up 2 wins recently. Either way, Kramer coming in. We'll see if he can actually win for his team here. Kennen going to be banned.
Notice the ban on the Sejuani. We're actually getting to a point in the jungle champion pool we haven't in a while. Taliyah, Nocturne, Kindred, and Sejuani all taken away. Wondering what Mowgli's fallback will be. Skarner hasn't seen much play recently, but actually fit the draft here pretty decently if they wanted to consider it. No one high value to other than Tom Kench, you would say, on the side of KT that has so far been locked in. Will KT just ban another jungler and say, what you got, mate? It's a possibility.
Definitely try to attack Mowgli here. Hasn't really shown much. The Zac is going to be taken away. We saw him playing that Zac in game number 2. Was pretty good at it. I mean, he was able to get the steals at least, so that's one champion to take away that will allow Score some extra time for his smites.
Camille's still open. That's the one kind of high-tier jungler that hasn't been attacked. It's much more risky than the choices we've seen Mowgli default to this season. There will be an element of risk. The Gragas is another one that could be considered, and hilariously, another flex pick, technically.
Yeah.
So there's actually nothing decided about the side of Afreeca Freecs.
It's Mata's dad.
He's going to see his son play Tahm Kench.
Yeah.
By the way, you said that so in a hard statement like that because we just got the word from our producer. It sounded a bit...
I don't just know who his dad is, unfortunately. Not close enough with Mata to know his dad.
It was kind of strange because an elderly Korean man came on, so you're like, it's Mata's dad! I mean, he's saying, it's Deft! Like, yes, that's true, Valdez. It just sounded really weird.
We got it. Yeah.
We've got a power lane going on here. Varus and Tahm Kench don't give too many mundos about who they're 2v2ing against. Speaking of the mundo, would KT dare lock it into Darius? Not a fan of going for the self-counter pick, but a lot of teams in Korea have been enjoying it, and instead, we get a low win rate choice for KT. They're going to be going on to the Gangplank, an old favorite of Smeb's, in the past a very high win rate. 0-3 on the season, and passivity hasn't always suited KT. Did in game number 1, so maybe feeling like they can force the delay. Game number 2, I should say. Final pick here for Afreeca. You got to make some decisions, hard decisions to be made. Where we all going?
Kind of feels like they're waiting for a mid laner, and there it is. The Fizz gets locked in again. And this will be up against the Swain in the mid lane. So feeling like they can take advantage of that early game from the Fizz once he hits level 6 and try to have Gragas to follow up. And the Swain, he can get pretty tanky as the game goes along, but early on, his laning phase isn't super strong. He can't punish the Fizz in a gigantic way. And then once level 6 hits, your ultimate as Swain is not going to let you live through the burst of Fizz.
You have a lot of Swain experience, and I tend to agree with you, especially if the cast gets you away from a turret. You're just not going to outlive the burst from Fizz. In a team fight, you have a great role to play, but in the 1v1 laning phase, a tricky one, ends up being very high magic damage on the side of Afreeca. Will we see Smeb go for the Resolve Tree Gangplank in the Darius matchup? We've seen actually Gangplanks win this matchup recently in the last couple of weeks. If you go Resolve Tree, you can also roll the dice, take the Klepto, and see how the chips do lie. As we would love to know how the chips are going to lie. The drafts are very different. We do not have pure Siege against pure Teamfight. Both teams have a lot of team fighting options. If the Fizz gets really big, though, I don't think Gangplank's going to be able to take him in a side lane. So Kuro, if he really pops off, could warp this game.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. We'll see if he can pop off as he did in game number 1. There's an obvious reason why they give this to him once again. It's not into the Zoe, but it's strong into the Swain too. And they feel like they can get him ahead and get into that position. And I mean, you think about Darius, Vladimir, where we've seen them team fight before. Things can really get out of hand if Afreeca Freecs are starting team fights with a Gragas, with a, an ultimate from the Fizz, with a binding. Definitely going to be pretty interesting to see that one. Whereas KT just going to sit back, try to farm, and try to keep Smeb and Deft alive to do that consistent damage. And actually win the team fights. I feel like Mata will definitely be playing a big role on the Tahm Kench. Once again, he's going to have to play to 2 levels if he wants to keep his team alive.
We're seeing the Spo TV runners run to the booth. I believe a couple of adjustments before the game could start. I think for KT, they need to pull off the very KT blue side strategy of they have a good 2v2 lane. They have Deft and Mata. If they can push and roam with the Varus Tahm Kench and just deny 5v5 team fights for 2 or 3 items from Afreeca, I think KT will be in a great spot. So to me, it's about the 2v2 laning and whether Deft and Mata can actually get a big lead.
So we got in the word it was a sound checking issue, which it's extra words, but it's actually less of a problem. They just needed to run in there, make sure the sound was okay. It looks like everything is pretty much ready to go. So guys, I did just get the word that the game is actually ready to go. The countdown has started, and let's see who's going to pull ahead between Afreeca Freecs and KT Rolster in game number 3. And on we do go. Okay, Tucson taking way too much damage here. Has to start Black Shield as we jump into game number 3. Kind of an unfortunate skill choice that you do not want to start with.
Oh, that is the most awful 2v2 lane. Vladimir with 1 point in Q and a Black Shield on the Morgana is putrid. That means that the winning Varus Tahm-Kench lane are going to win really hard in the early game. So a lot of options here for KT Rolster.
You get pushed in, the Morgana can't farm her gold item with her W. It's just really awkward. Yeah, very unfortunate. Looks like the two of them just ran into each other, almost solo queue-esque, into the river on the right side, where everybody loves to run. And, well, Tahm-Kench is going to win that trade unless you start binding and you catch him before he gets on top of you.
And obviously, pre-6, Yukal is going to be pretty confident in the mid lane. He's been a bit more brazen than some of the mid lane Swain players we've seen recently. No Resolve tree against the Fizz. We see Resolve first grasp Swain quite a lot. As Deft and Mada, they're looking to cheese.
You know, why not? I mean, the Black Shield helps out this time around, but look at this. Tucson actually going to eat a bunch of really annoying harassment damage, and they're making a statement. They're saying, guys, we were already going to win this lane. Now we're going to win it even harder. This is part of the reason why Deft and Mada are some of the best 2v2ers in the bottom side. They really min-max any advantage they can get.
If they can just play for lane, if there were no junglers in the League of Legends, then I think Deft and Mada would run over basically anyone worldwide. We didn't get to see them against Uzi and Ming, sadly, to get the answer to that question, but they are the best in Korea for certain. So a lot of lane control and none at all for the side of Afreeca Freecs, who desperately would like a couple more levels.
Yeah. At least Tucson has been getting a decent amount of auto attacks to get some of that gold. And they're looking for double scuttle here with that lane control on the bottom side. They're not even going to give it over to Score. It's going to actually go over to probably Yukal here from the mid lane, who also has the early advantage in the mid side. So denying a bit of that golden XP for Mowgli while just taking a bit of an advantage for your team.
Still takes a very long time to take it down, but Yukal will pick it up. Very easy for Swain to push in Fizz, and all the threat we're talking about for the Fizz is post-6.
Yep.
In the early levels, cooldowns along, the all-in is not going to happen, so happy for Yukal to just push through, and he's gone exhaust to try to deal with the laners. Speaking of lanes...
Smeb?
He also went Klepto, so he's up ballin'. As I'm pretty sure his secondary tree is going to be Resolve tree, not Sorcery, but I guess it could be Sorcery too. I guess he's going no Resolve tree against the Darius. That sounds painful.
I really don't get it, especially when he plays greedy in the lane, runs up to the Darius and says, well, come at me, bro. Make me bleed.
Smeb does do this from time to time. Smeb will take just the most brazenly aggressive keystones on what is a losing matchup in terms of 1v1, and then just say, come gank me. That will let my bot lane win harder. It's kind of a weird way to go, but I think Smeb does sometimes invite those scenarios on him, and the best case scenario of going no Resolve tree is things like the Gathering Storm and other choices you can pick up is, yep, this is going to hurt a lot.
He has to flash. I mean, one more auto would have killed him. So, I mean, that's just really unfortunate. You were talking about taking really greedy runes when you know you're going into a losing matchup. This is one way to try to catch up, you know. Come and gank me, but while I'm taking so much focus away from the lane, I can also try to catch up a little bit with Klepto. But you're just going to lose the lane harder. Maybe it won't make up for it.
Keen sees his greed and says, I can back you up with some greed of my own, and goes for Cull on Darius. First time I'm seeing that. Wants to build up the second item a lot quicker by delaying first item a little bit. The mid lane, Yukal pushing up. Score playing around the timing where Yukal can control this lane very well. They're going to clear out a ward and start contesting the camps here of the Gragas.
Notice that KT and Yukal, they know the strong points of this Swain lane. They know that they can push in a little bit earlier, and they're trying to make it work by getting whatever advantage they can early. In part, actually making Keen back off a little bit in the top side.
Kind of went top side, so that's why Keen's showing respect at this point. G-Max coming through from Deft. Does suggest that maybe it's not going to be the first item, Rage Blade. Could still be. Q does give a lot more safe harass. Wait and see what the first purchase is. New build that Prey debuted was the Mana Moon into the Ginsu Rage Blade. A lot of people would think, oh, why not Mana Moon into this full-on poke build, lethality build, but the theory behind it is the ability to double proc the shock passive on the Mirror Mana. In this case, it's going to be Vamp Scepter, the Q for a bit of range poke on Morgana, who can't really deal with Q Max Varus very well. But the skill order, not so relevant as the item, though.
You see the respect that UCal was showing, but actually Kuro, I feel like, should have showed a little bit more respect as level 6 was hit there by UCal. UCal actually missing the cannon because he was calculating the XP, knew that Kuro would hit it first, and so had to back off. And respect that, but actually Kuro getting a very low effective, really, I guess ineffective is the way to say that, ultimate off onto UCal just to survive.
When we saw the Fizz in game number 1, we have to remember. Well, let's hold the point.
That's going to be the ult first blood, the easiest solo kill you've ever seen. And the question marks will start flying as, again, Smeb, he burns his flash. He's too aggressive with greedy runes, and then he dies in a solo kill as he gets too close to the Darius.
That is, in fact, a record of what happened, and there's no way to sugarcoat any of it. Smeb opted into a scenario like that, used his flash earlier, deserves to go down, didn't play around the level 6 experience jump. Keen's level 7 now. Good luck with that one, Smeb. Walks to lane awkwardly. Very rough, rotten look for the KT Rolster captain there on the gangplank.
That's not what you want to have happen in your top lane. You want to have a gangplank that can actually survive and get into the late game and actually scale, not someone who's going to lose to the Call Darius, who is now 2 levels ahead of you. Let's take a look at how this fight happened.
The worst part is he was already level 6. This wasn't even a level up play.
Oh.
He flashes in. Smeb doesn't have flash, and you're not going to be able to orange away from the apprehend, so he gets dunked. That's what we call an outplay.
I mean, that's just a mistake, right? You have to respect the flash at that moment. You have to know that you're not tanky enough when you start Sheen 2 to survive against a Darius to flash. It's just like a, what do they call it? It's just like a logical progression, right? It's like if he has flash and he gets in range to flash on me, I am dead. And I know that because I'm a pro gamer, but Smeb just not thinking of the possibilities and he gets punished for it.
It's one of those ones where the explanation is probably either very, very simple, he just didn't think about his runes, which is unlikely. It's a professional gamer, as you say. It's probably something along the lines of, if I can get away with this, I'm going to draw so much attention and be so strong so early that I can get out of laning phase and be irrelevant. That's what you're thinking. If you go Klepto and then build not Sheen, then it kind of ruins the whole point of going Klepto initially. Score could also be camping for him, and speaking of camps...
I was worried about the 2v1, but the 3v1, can they pull it off? Keen is going to apprehend them both, but actually they didn't even need Mata to come in. Just saves his life away from the aggro, and there it is.
And you can win more if you go for this rune set and get some help. This is from, of all people, the roam over from Mata, whose unsealed spellbook over to the teleport was very useful. They get to the top side, they get out, don't even have to worry about juggling the turret aggro. Nicely played by KT.
And the new unsealed spellbook, you just walk down to bottom side with both of your summoners up, right? You just go down there and you say, well, you still can't fight us because I still have exhaust now after switching to the teleport for just the one play. Don't see too much unsealed spellbook just on champions that you don't really have a must-take rune. But when you see it, you can see its effectiveness. It's really good.
You do wonder when the teleport was switched over to, because Mata's in vision in the bot side. We don't get the update on the summoner overlay, sadly. But it was a really nice play. Morgana had already started to pull away, but wasn't in the range to do anything about this. Nicely played from KT. They can disengage, score. Doesn't matter about turret aggro. Those are the sort of plays you need if you are going to be going Klepto Gangplank against the Darius.
It's just Mata trying to carry his team. I wonder who actually called that out. Could have been Mata saying, hey, I have unsealed spellbook, let me make this play up on the top side. It was obvious that Score was moving up there to try to go for this dive, but the added effect of having Mata come in was really cute.
That smite was on point. Take that, Mowgli.
Well, Mowgli's been bullied around the Rift Scuttlers the entire day, as it's now 4-0 once again over to Score.
But a point I never got to is that in game one, we had Fizz mid lane with a Kindred. Just like we mentioned that Kindred can baby kind of riskier mid lane picks, melee champions like the Kassadin and the Fizz. So much easier to overextend and look for fishes aggressively when you have a Kindred. Consider now he has a Gragas, so he doesn't have the same jungle impact. And the best way to read that is in the Scuttle Crab counter we have here at Spo TV. It's 4 scuttles to 0 advantage.
Smeb is in a lot of trouble. I don't want to cut you off, but Smeb, oh boy, he's got the bleed going. A couple of auto attacks. He has the stopwatch, though. Looks like Keen wasn't expecting that. So without the stopwatch, he does go down, but you guys can see now why we have so many stopwatches in the Smeb.
It's 1 extra tool down for Smeb, and that's the good call there, and the color's starting to be stacked. Yep, the flash is up for Smeb as well, so he'll have 1 tool, but if he has to use 1 every time the Darius walks up, it's not enough. The point I was trying to get to is that Kuro doesn't have all-in potential, isn't even looking for the aggressive plays we alluded to, and because of the jungle mismatch, this Fizz has actually just been pushed under turret.
Yeah, it's been a little bit awkward for that Fizz pick so far. It's really getting no aggressive plays done. And let's take a look at the damage here. Deft actually on top of that one, actually just 1 damage ahead of the Gangplank, who somehow has more than the Darius, who he's died to.
And for the Rift Herald here, using the pressure, but Mowgli's here for the contest.
It's going to come down to it. Can Mowgli get the smite again? No, this time it will go over to Score. And now Mowgli forced to flash the wall. He had some good looks in game 2, and unfortunately, Mata is here again. This is his Rift, and he is going to get another kill for his team.
Mata refuses to ever be the second best Tahm Kench in a set. Really nice, aggressive use of the Abyssal Voyage. Takes down the kill onto Mowgli. They already got the Rift Herald, as you mentioned, Valdez, and now they're trying to chase away and force Keen away from the winning 1v1.
You know, we were questioning Smeb so much for his choices, but when he gets this much help and he has Mata roaming around the map this much, well, it makes a lot more sense, right?
If someone says top or feed, you have 2 options. You can either try to ignore them and win elsewhere, or help out the guy who really wanted to go top. They're helping out their brother in Smeb.
Brother Smeb gets some help. A little bit of a high five from Mata. Helping him out real good in this one. But still just the early game, still just a couple of kills. No turrets have gone down. Really the biggest mismatch has been in this bottom lane. Even with Mata making 2 map plays, being in the top side of the map, the Varus, almost alone at times, 1v2, is still about 25 CS ahead of the Vlad.
Reality of the matchup. You do really well in this matchup as the Varus. They picked for the 2v2, but we didn't see it being the teleports away from Mata. Being less about the turret damage and getting Mata out of lane with the first brick. It's just getting Mata out of lane, period, and Deft holding down the fort 1v1.
Deft's been having a fun game this time around. In game number 2, he was playing the Swain, who was kind of just backing up the Yasuo. Game number 1, he was playing the Ezreal, which really wasn't too effective. This time, he gets to be the carry in his own mind. Kuro trying to get aggressive here, but actually Yukal is standing up to him really nicely. Still has the stopwatch, and the threat of that is really helping him out. Fish comes down, but Score was right behind him, putting down the Rift Herald, and all of a sudden, Kuro and Mowgli kind of just awkwardly standing here, but they're looking for the engage now. Score's going to be bopped on in. Here's Tushin with the big ultimate onto 2 members. Nice devour onto Score, but he is going to go down in the end. The apprehend now onto Mata should be able to take him out. 1 kill will go over to Yukal up in the top side, and they do get that turret in the mid lane, the first blood turret. So a 2-for-1, but KT do get that turret.
Score was postured so far up, thinking he was zoning, but in fact, it was all a clever ruse by the Afreeca Freecs, pulling off the double flank teleport. Will they get any objectives off it? The answer looks like no, so maybe the effect will not be massive. But a couple of kills there does disrupt some of the celebrations from the side of KT. Gonna watch the replay here. They get the channel very safely, so that's always gonna come up. And you're right, the all-in looks like it's gonna be aborted straight away, as Score was always in the mid lane. But Score just stands there, motionless, thinking he's going to be watching the Rift Herald do all the work. He gets bopped in, and it's at the same time as the rest, as your uncontrollable laughter.
I was play-by-playing the fight. I didn't even realize that Score was just standing there for like 10 seconds. It's almost like he was taunting him to engage. He's like, I dare you to come in, and Mowgli's like, okay, I guess so. Why not?
It's all about the economy of movement.
I guess so, you know? When you got old, worn-out wrists, you just gotta make the best of your time. Say, well, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break here, you know?
It's a funny old game sometimes, as we're seeing, with solo kills in the top and Trundle's just going AFK on sieges. We needed a bit of comedy, because it's been a very serious couple of games so far.
Yeah. Maybe sweating a little bit. Maybe he took a moment to wipe his brow. Score definitely has been the carry at times for KT.
Kindred especially.
Done his own bit of labor for this KT team. Oh, Keen looking to get aggressive. Will get the apprehends here, and with red buff on a Darius, what is Smeb gonna do? No stopwatch this time around. Is gonna eat those oranges, and he is kiting him, but it's not enough. Keen with another solo kill onto this gangplank, and he makes it look so easy.
Even with a summon at disadvantage, no way to get away. Score trying to cut up to Keen.
Mowgli takes that escape route away. Keen with no ultimate available this time around, just trying to bleed him down, and he does get the kill, but goes down to Yukal. The daddy is back. He gets up a kill for himself.
Daddy back from the store, but not able to get too much from it. However, overall, he has 3 out of the 4 kills and will be immovable in fights. It seems like more and more we're going to get Kramer getting to that critical mass on the Vladimir in an even game and being able to run at this Varus and maybe trivialize him in a future fight. But if Yukal can stand strong with a damage build, not going for Zhonya's second, going for the Oblivion Orb, there is the potential he can stand and deliver. As we get the replay of what happens here, you got to choose your spot to flash. If you hold on to it too long, this is what happens.
Yeah. Waited, wanted to get the barrel down, thought he could slow him and then just run away, but nice dodging by Keen. And Mowgli says, F you, Keen, I'm out of here.
Speaking of, in the minimap.
See you later. Oh, okay, there you go. Tucson goes down. As finally that 2v2 happens for Deft and Mata. They get the kills they've been looking for.
So far up the lane is Tucson. When you max Q, the return damage is so much bigger than you first assume. Mowgli trying to stay here and ult just on the minions.
Oh boy, Kramer moving forward into 3 members, and Yukal says, hello, I'm gonna take you out. Score, he's gonna pick up the kill for himself, because why not?
That's a really poor read on the map by Kramer. He just didn't have any situational awareness. Everyone was missing except the gangplank from the side of KT. Thought he could ult the minion wave and get away. No, is the response to that. Keen, in the meantime, going to take down the top turret solo. And, well, one person has 5 kills, the other person has 3. We definitely know who to focus on in these team fights.
Darius versus Swain, who's going to do it? Tucson just walks up, tries to ward Deft with the easiest sidestep of his life. Tucson with no flash. And just an unfortunate moment. He took the risk, you know. If Varus is not in the bush, then he gets vision and he really helps out his lane. But if he's there, you're going to die 100% of the time.
We're just seeing more and more. Q-Max Varus just owns Morgana in lane because you poke her out. She's never full health because of the poke, and Morgana gets no value. And as we mentioned, Kramer has very little situational awareness that time and just loses life and the turret. So much gold loaded onto the Swain and the Darius. The Darius especially, remember, we're not even factoring in that he cashed in his cull as well. So he is going to be hilariously far ahead.
We'll see if he can go 1v5. The rest of his team is not doing so well. The Fizz is doing okay, but you'll notice that even some magic resist, the null magic mantle picked up here by Yukal. He's still respecting the Fizz, even though he's so far ahead. The damage numbers are going to go in favor of Keen in this game. He's the highest level at level 13. Matching Yukal up there, but he does have the highest damage. Certainly will be Yukal up against Keen in this game.
Separation of the game, though, not reflected in the scoreboard, is Score versus Mowgli. The Score has run the jungle this game. You can tell from the Scuttle Crab counter, it's still 7-0. No Scuttles picked up at all by Mowgli in the game. Jungle control has been very good from the Trundle, and just a couple of assists from Mowgli, not enough as a return.
Looking for Kuro here. They force his flash as Yukal burning his W to make him do that. Would have slowed him down. So that means that Kuro, once again, you know, he hasn't been able to find any assassinations in this game, but Mowgli looking to find that assassination. Forces Mata to flash here. They really do want to engage. The Predator popped here already by the Vladimir. Once again, Mowgli looking for it, but gets hit by the Chains of Corruption, and now it's going the opposite way. Yukal pops up into his ultimate, and he says, don't hurt my friends. I will own you. And so Afreeca gets scared, and they back off.
And on the roam down, Gangplank gets free time on the top turret. Able to push in 2 minion waves as well. Darius trying to walk up, but of course being shadowed by Score. This is going to be the turret taken by KT. So they don't have to rotate their members, and they get a structure.
Yeah. You mentioned how Mata wants to show up and be the better Tom Kent of this series, and so far he's trying to make that the case here in this one. Had 2 really nice plays over the map early on in the game, and a really good devour there in that last fight.
And because Kuro's been able to not live up to our expectation of the Fizz, we spent so much time talking about how Fizz versus Swain can be very Fizz-favored post-6. In pro play, because his jungler has had no pressure, we've never seen him all in. We've never seen him have true threat. And now, think back to game number 1, where he had threat with the Kindred, where he was getting the ults off and getting kills in lane. He was hitting every shark, and we were saying, wow, fish accuracy 100%. Now, if he doesn't hit the shark, basically the whole pick has been useless. Now he has to hit everything. The pressure is so different because he hasn't run the lane. He's been very much a passenger in the game, and now we're reaching that tipping point where one Fish ultimate hitting or missing might either justify or fully invalidate the Fizz draft.
Yeah, I mean, there still is a team fight where the Fizz is going to be really important, right? If it hits even the Tom Kents, you slow him down, you pop him up, and then the Darius can start the fight with the Tom Kents dead. That's definitely a moment where you can put, you know, CC into CC chain. You have the Morgana follow-up, you have the Gragas follow-up, and just the ultimate of the Fizz can be useful, even if he's not doing that burst damage to 100-0 someone. So we'll see if he can live up to the pressure and actually make that happen in this game.
Deft has gone very heavy on the magic resist. He has Hex Drinker and the Wit's End to not die in one rotation to Kramer or Kuro. Kramer's behind, so it definitely will work there. You can never really tell with these Fizz all-ins. The damage is always bigger than you remember, but it's very difficult to DPS through 2 types of magic resist. Every shield has resist scaling, of course, because it counts as bonus health to magic damage. So watching here, KT continuing to posture, continuing to run the map. The Gragas tried the big play, but was answered by the flash from the Tom Kench last time. Let's see if Mowgli can once again find the barrel from the heavens.
It's awkward positioning from Deucen, actually. He's going really deep, trying to clear out the wards, and KT saw him doing that. He's actually coming way from behind in the mid lane, trying to catch someone out. But the rotation here from KT, the push from UCal, means that they might be able to take out this inner turret in the top side.
Afreeca just has so little control. The entire time, the Darius was just trading farms with the GP, as the Fish does miss.
Oh, and Deucen trying to run away. He's 4 levels down, and here's Mata. No more Black Shield for you. He is going to stopwatch after ultimating here. But the Chains of Corruption coming in, and goodbye Morgana, as he will be missed. And that means that the fight is going to be huge on the side of KT. Now, Kane going to be run down, as well as Kuro, who is going to stopwatch, even though he will definitely die on the back side of that. So 2 kills, a bit of a mistake there. Too aggressive from Deucen.
It's another illustration of the jungle difference. KT run this map. They decide they want the red buff side. They'll take it. Score walks over. Score's ability to just control every movement of Mowgli is the biggest separator between the 2 teams, bigger than the Darius, bigger than the Swain in the mid lane. And that just means that Afreeca are making low percentage plays and getting caught while doing it.
Now, KT, they've just played a fantastic macro game. Mata is just earning himself the MVP in this game so far. We'll see how this goes down again. Deucen just tries to come from behind, but they spot him coming through.
Look at the map that he's coming through. There's control words everywhere else. As Score, you know where to stand because there's only one possible place a flanker can be coming from. So Deucen's out of position. Mowgli tries to spare his blushes, but he dies too fast. This is what happens when one person is pressured into making a play that they have no right to make. Give away the kills to KT, and they even give away the stopwatches for a future fight.
Yeah. You can see the Vlad that is this far behind. Once KT gets the fight going in their favor, there's nothing he can do but run. He took too much damage from the Cannon Barrage from GP. He's only got Spellbinder and a Proto Belt. He's like, I can't verse anyone. I'm sorry, guys. I'm too far behind at this point. Needs another 5-10 minutes to really get going online, and Afreeca, they're going to have to just not do what they did in that last fight, not just face check brushes. They need to essentially give up the map because they've already lost control.
If KT keeps playing around their side lanes, keeps playing around vision, it's so difficult for Afreeca to ever get the fight that right now they're probably not itemized to win. They definitely will reach a tipping point, as we've said, about red side drafts in Game 1 and Game 2. But it's looking like that may never come 25 minutes into a game that KT has bossed pretty extensively. They have a lot of Baron threat now, as they have double Mountain Drake to go along, with Varus ready to shred that objective. And for Afreeca, apart from Keen, everyone's running on welfare a little bit. That's not going to be enough to take down KT in a 5v5.
Keen's just been farming. He's been sitting in side lanes. He's been pushed in the top side with 3 members of KT right in front of him. He can't do it alone. He needs someone else on his team to engage, and then he follows up. Darius depends so much on how a fight starts, and if he doesn't have the team to back him up to get it started, or he's not, 1v1 into, he's going to win the 1v1 and then someone else comes in and he can get that into a 1v2 going, snowballing in his favor. If that doesn't happen and KT's not giving him any of those fights, the Darius that's ahead is just not going to do much.
Completely agree, and if you could actually reverse the roles, you'd prefer a fed Vladimir and just a Trinity Force and maybe Jorm's Fist Darius over the reverse, because Vlad can start a fight, and Darius ends fights. And if he's behind, he just isn't able to do that. So that's the awkward part here. It's very hard for Keen to spread his lead when they have no map control at all, and all the neutrals are going the way of KT. You can't split push against that. We've seen plenty of split pushes fall apart because the rest of the team is just too far behind, and now Smeb's gone Guardian Angel and actually has an item lead over his opponent, which is comical given how the actual lane was going.
You can tell that he's getting frustrated, and this is going to be even more frustrating for Afreeca. Nice wraparound here from KT. They're going to get behind and punish that Morgana again, as Yukal is just so unbelievably fast. The flash forward from Def. He is running this rift, as he does get another kill here for his team. And double Mountain Drake and 2 kills means they can take any objective they want.
They're going to go for the Baron. I think Valdez, pretty easy pick up here. Vladimir not strong enough to go in 1v5 and get any kills. They're backing off to it. They're in such a strong spot, and Smeb's making a farm lane out of the Darius. Everything coming up, KT Rolster.
They're making the Darius useless. They control the jungle, and Afreeca are just not finding the way to deal with it. They're getting so far behind as KT. Now's the time to get excited. You can get excited now. It looks like they're very far ahead in this game. They're going to take down the Baron, and they're about 9,000 gold ahead at 28 minutes, really running this game.
Watching the replays here, and very good flank. Another illustration of how this game is about jungle control, because Afreeca Freecs have none of it. You're able to sneak a Trundle and a Swain behind all the members of Afreeca Freecs. Easy cleanup there. It's 9-0 in Scuttles, and that is something you very rarely see.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are asking the question, how can KT throw this? Honestly, I don't think they can at this point. That's why I said I think it's okay for you guys to get excited. I think you're in this moment. You actually do have a KT that is in a nearly unlosable situation with the Baron and the double Mountain. They can push in. They have Varus, Swain, Trundle, and GP. A very fine sieging composition, even though it's not too many ranged champions. Let's see how they decide to pull this off.
You do sound like someone trying to invoke the wrath of God by taunting him again and again and again and waiting to be smited down. I tend to agree that KT are super far ahead, but anything's possible, Valdez.
Hey, I mean, Skort could get caught here, but they have Tom Kent, right? Even Skort getting out of position, can't do it, knows that he can be aggressive, has the Tom Kent behind him. And who's going to go up against the Guardian Angel GP? Is it going to be the underfled Vladimir? We're going to have Kuro come down and help him out, just clearing the wave. Or just send Keen back down there, but that means that he can't be in position to deal with the fight in the mid lane.
This can't win an all-in war. I just don't see how Afreeca can do it. So KT walk up again, a couple of autos, base broken in the mid lane.
You can see Keen is just trying so hard. He's level 17. They want the engage. They're looking for Yukal here, but he's got that zone. He's going to actually flash away here. Not ready to go. Mowgli is, though, going to have to flash away from that one as well. Keen getting low, and nobody else on his team is fed enough to help him out. He's at half health, and he's forced to back away.
There's no threat behind the impressive scaling from Afreeca. They haven't scaled yet. They need more time, and KT will give them no quarter.
Yeah, Even the top lane is pushing in as we speak. Mowgli still looking for the engage. Death on the Varus this time. Not as much freedom as in Ezreal with the Tahm Kench, but still is dealing that damage in the front line. KT, though, gonna be respectful. They decide, hey, we'll just let them keep their second inhibitor down on the bottom side, and we will come back to fight another day.
Some of the snowball item choices from KT are respectful as well. Look at the mid lane. Swain here, he's gone for the Spirit Visage just to be able to absorb the comical amount of magic damage on the side of Afreeca. Already mentioned earlier how it was the Hextrigger, now the more Malmortius, so it's impossible to pop Death. It's not that Afreeca do no damage. They have a very high damage comp. It's that the snowball itemization, the better part of 11,000 gold, has been spent on items that are largely respectful of the worst case scenario of Afreeca Freecs comp. So right now, it's so difficult for them to puncture through double Spirit Visage, an Adaptive Helm, Warmogs, a Locket. They're so tanky to the Vladimir, and Vladimir himself doesn't have a death cap, doesn't have 6 items.
2 seconds left on the Baron, looking to push down in the bottom side. And yeah, you're definitely right. I just assumed that the Swain would have Zhonya's in that last fight as he's ultra fed at 31 minutes, but deciding on a different path, he'll eventually get to that Zhonya's. It's not gonna, it might not be the next item though, as he picks up a Blasting Wand, which does not build into the Zhonya's.
Void Staff and Zhonya's gonna round out the build here. I guess you could go Rylai's for a bit more control, but I don't think it's necessary.
They're looking for Morgana again. You can see that they're definitely very scared to push into this location. It's just so dangerous when you can have a flanking Vlad, a flanking Fizz to get onto your back line. If you pop Mata in depth quick enough, then does it really matter how fed your Swain is? Afreeca, they're very far behind, but they still have a couple of tricky plays in their back pocket, as we've seen before.
I think KT could be more aggressive, but I think it's smart to train your fundamentals. It's so hard to pop them because of the magic resist, because of the itemization, but here we go.
Okay, they get onto the Varus, but the Castaway onto Mata. There's 2 members here, but oh, Tushin just disappears. But here we go, Keen in the backline. Mowgli's gonna die. Can Keen go 1v4? He is gonna stopwatch. Kramer is gonna survive for now. Keen not able to just do it. Gets the 1 auto onto Death, but again, he's all alone. The Abyssal Voyage into the mid lane, and it looks like KT, they've gotten far enough ahead that they're not going to throw it, and it looks like they should be able to take game 3.
The KT reverse sweep's going to happen, Valdez, in front of your eyes. Get excited, KT fans. You wanted to win. You needed to win. You get one today.
You deserved it. You finally get excited like I told you, and they take the win here in game number 3. 33 minutes, the shortest one of the series, and KT Rolster will do it here. They take a win over a very strong Afreeca Freecs team.
Oh boy, very, very long 3-hour series for 3 games, and KT Rolster could certainly, in game number 2, with all their mistakes, have gone down 2-0. But Yukal pulled them over the line with how powerful his Yasuo was. Game 3, that's the KT we like to see, a lot more tight around their bottom lane. Went for the Varus and Tahm Kench, which we liked. But the reason that they won was actually different than first expectation, but Mata's early roams being the cherry on top of some good early game moves, and then just playing through the power of Death's free-farmed Varus. Very nicely done. Score, the unsung hero of this game, not giving up a single Scuttle Crab to the enemy, able to monopolize all of them after he took the top one, and the Tahm Kench and the Swain took the bottom Scuttle Crab. Never any gotten by Mowgli, who honestly was emaciated on this Gragas. His ults didn't matter, his pathing didn't lead to anything. KT, worthy winners of game number 3.
You can see that Keen looks really frustrated in the booth, probably the most frustrated out of anybody else, and you might wonder why. I mean, he was so far ahead in the top side, he got 2 solo kills, but I suppose that's exactly why. The rest of his team was not able to back him up. He did so much, he got so far ahead, and then Mata shows up in his nightmares and says, You're not even going to win the lane even after getting 2 solo kills. It's not going to matter. Here I am on Tahm Kench.
And that's the counter argument. Why do you go sorcery? Why do you go inspiration primary? The reason for that, Valdez, is basically KT said, whatever you want to do top lane, we'll absorb it, we'll win elsewhere. And that's what happened in this game. They were able to play around how strong the Darius was by the limitations of Darius as a champion and also superior pathing. Score was able to trivialize any of the power of a 1v1 by combining with Mata and taking over the jungle, and it just so quickly got to the point where it didn't matter how strong the Darius was, because Darius couldn't spread his lead to teamfights or the 1v1 as the game went on.
Yeah. Another question that Afreeca Freecs fans might be asking is, why did Mowgli play 3 games in a row? Where's Spirit? We saw him in the back room. He was in the makeup room. He's here tonight, but they decide, hey, he had a really good first game. Game 2 wasn't his fault, right? But he did kind of lose the jungle in Game 2, and he definitely lost it in Game 3. The calculation was off on the Scuttle, on the Rift Herald, rather. Misses it by 97 health. He kind of leads Keen to his death here as well, even though they do kill score, but in the end, he just wasn't doing as much a score on the Rift tonight.
I think it's very results-based, because he was great in Game 1 and he was good in Game 2. And then Game 3, you're right, he was outclassed, but they didn't know that before they loaded into Game 3. He took a lot of bans in Game 3 as well and didn't look comfortable on the Gragas. So I agree, in hindsight, Spirit would have been the one to come in on game number 3. But I think Mowgli overall had a good series. It just was really exposed in game number 3.
Yeah, game number 3 was definitely the one where it came through. Kramer also, you know, he gets subbed in as Amy didn't have the best game in game 2, and then Kramer comes in and doesn't look great as he loses the lane, but it was really the lane matchup, right? He got so far behind, he made the one mistake, but sometimes it's just one mistake to get you that far behind that you can't make too much of a difference when you're on a champion like Vlad.
Good close out by KT. Waiting for the MVP here. I think Mata is going to be with a big shout after how much he was able to do in the early game. It wasn't the same type of Tahm Kench, but it was still a very impressive Tahm Kench game nonetheless. By the end, you could feel the frustration for Keen trying to make something happen, but kited around and made to look silly. KT Rolster go up 2-1, and they desperately needed this, as now they finally start to make their way back to top 5.
Yeah. The tip's almost touching up there on the top side, but GP is going to go ahead in terms of the damage. It's about 706 damage ahead of the Darius, but those were the 2 big damage numbers. It's kind of interesting to see the GP, who got so far behind, got solo killed twice, but still had the most damage in the game.
Such as Gangplank is all I'm going to say about that one. His ult pretty useful. By the end, he had an item lead because such as Gangplank. Darius did his job until he didn't, and that's kind of how a lot of GP lanes go when it comes to the infinite scaling. But it turns out that GP had 4 people really firing around him, so it wasn't about the GP. A bit of a downhill skier, to use a sports analogy, where the rest of the team set it up and all he did was shoot people in the face.
Yep, so guys, we're going to take a look at the MVP. I would have to assume it would be Mata, and there it is. Mata comes in and nets himself the MVP on Unsealed Spellbook Tahm Kench. Would love to hear what he thinks about that summoner, that rune rather, and see if we can hear a little bit of that from him. But guys, I'm going to throw it over to Ji-sun to help out with the translation. We'll be back after the interview.
Thank you very much. This is Ji-sun with your interview translations, and here we have Mata and Yuka from KT Rolster. So it was a long match overall and a very close series. So how was today's game overall? Well, my life would be gone if I lost out today, so I was concentrating a lot.
인생 생겼네요. 네, 다행이네요. 마타 선수는 어땠어요 오늘?
저희가 리포트 라이벌즈 이후에 이제
Well, after the Rift Rivals, we were back in LCK,
하나 생명이랑 이제 게임을 했는데
and we kind of lost against Hana Life Esports,
모습을 많이 보여드려가지고
and we were really underperforming at that moment.
흔들려가지고
So we were being kind of shaky.
꼭 이기고
So
싶었는데
today, I really wanted to win today.
초반에 엄청 힘들었는데
Well, we did struggle in the early games,
다행히
but it's really relieving that we got the game in the end.
헤맬 수 있는 거 아니겠습니까? 어쨌든 길만 찾아오면 되니까. 오늘 길을 좀 찾아온 그.
Well, good to hear that you guys are back in your rhythm.
2세트 승리를 따냈던 근데 그 세트부터 말씀을 드릴 텐데 KT가 이제 사실 초반에는 그렇게 썩 좋다고 보기는 어려웠어요. 좀
So we can say you guys did have
우리 괜찮다라는 느낌이
struggles in the early games, but when did you feel like you're gonna win the game for sure?
조합으로 그 진다는 생각을 가지면은
Well, we got the strong team competition, so we never thought we were gonna lose.
본인 딜량 봤죠?
네.
68,000 넘어가는 거. 그때 뭐
Did you see your damage on Yasuo?
팀원들은 본지 안 본지 모르겠지만
Well, I'm not sure if my teammates have checked it out, but compared to Deft,
좀 많이 나긴 하더라고요.
well, yeah, I did put a lot of damage.
가지고 사실 뭐 야쏘의 임팩트 그 이상의 장면들이 많이 나왔던 것 같은데 사실 마타 선수가 뭐 3세트 MVP를 타긴 했습니다만 모든 경기에서 마타 선수
And today, I think you did a significant role overall as a support today.
그 활용은 진짜 KT에서 정말 필요하다.
And I think Tamkesh was one of the most important pick for KT Rolster.
1경기 때는 좀 주도권이 없어가지고
Well, in the first set, I think we actually didn't have laning priorities. But in the third set, we had, yeah, very strong laning priorities, so I could roam around the maps.
바론에 관련된 말씀은 안 드릴 수가 없습니다. 그때 진짜 아슬아슬하게
And
마음먹고
you know,
다치기 시작했었는데
Afreeca
상대편이
kind of
보면서
steal
이제
your
스피드
Baron
장면도 있었거든요.
during the game.
아, 이런 장면 나오면 막 사실상 뭐 온갖 생각이 막 싹 지나가잖아요.
So what kind of thought came into your mind at that moment?
바론을 치고 있었지만은 바론은 상관 안 쓰고
Yeah, we were trying to like get the Baron, but we were actually thinking about opening team fight over there. So yeah, it didn't really matter if they took it or not.
아, 문제는 있는데
Well, getting our Baron stolen is a problem.
생각은 했는데 그래도
But yeah, it wasn't a big deal for us because we were able to win the team fight at that moment.
크게 문제 없었던 것 같아요.
아무래도 그 지난번 경기 치러내고 난 다음에 전반적으로 리프트 라이벌스에 참가했던 팀들이 굉장히 좀 신중해졌던 것 같아요.
So all the teams who have came back after the Rift Rivals are being a little bit more secure about their performance.
펼치는 모습을 볼 수 있었는데 그래서 그런지 상대적으로 KT가 후반 집중력이 더 좋아진 느낌이 있었어요.
So I could see that you guys were concentrating really well in the late games.
네, 후반 가서도 초반에 집중력이 잃지 않았다는 게
Yeah, the fact that we didn't lose our focus and concentration in the late game is the main reason that we won the game today.
그럼 어떤 장면이 등장했었는지 2세트 주요 장면 지금부터 한번
And let's check
살펴보겠습니다.
out some clips of highlights.
뒤로 볼까요? 아, 이 장면이었죠? 바론이 이제 넘어가고 난 뒤에 안에 전투가 펼쳐졌던 장면이었는데요.
This is a team fight after the Baron steal.
이 장면은 이제 일단은 전투 승리 때문에 만족할 만한 상황이었던 거네요. 어느 정도.
So what was going on over there?
조금만 더 설명해 주실까요, 이 장면?
이것도 상대방이 급해서 친 거라고 생각해서
네.
Well, I could feel like Afreeca was kinda in a hurry. So yeah, maybe if we can let them take the Baron, but we were really trying so hard to win the team fight.
장면들이 나올 뻔했었던 어떻게 보면 바로 앞에서의 전투였는데 전투의 승리를 따내면서 그 집중력 KT가 결국 2세트를 얻어내는 굉장히 좋은 장면이었는데 마지막 한타에서도 조금 좀
Well,
불안한 모습이
and in the
있었거든요.
last team fight for the game too.
스맥 선수가 약간 좀
Well,
잡히면서
Smack was
좀
down
위기를
before the
있었는데
team fight.
그때는 뭐 어떤 내용이 있었는지 혹시 기억나요?
So what kind of shot calls went back and forth at that moment?
이제 마지막에 이제 스맵 선수가 물려가지고
Yeah,
네,
Smack got
네.
caught out.
좀 오래 버틸 수 있는 상황이었고
But yeah, he did buy enough time for us.
이제 봐주자는 얘기를
So we're trying to just
했던 것
cover up for him, and then we're able to win the team fight in the end.
이때부터 완전 6할이 또 말도 안 되는 거 하나 찍었거든요. 요때는 6할 선수 좀만 더 얘기해 주세요.
Any more comments?
순간 화면에서 1대5 상황이 나왔어요. 완전 고립돼서고.
Yuka, you're playing 1v5 at that moment.
사실 이때 나르가 죽는 거 보고
Well,
한타가
actually, I felt like we might lose the game because Smack was down, but I was in a really good position.
네.
그래서 겨우 이겼던 것 같아요.
So I could barely win the team fight over there.
장면들을 또 잘 이용했었던 멋진 모습들. 자, 그래서 그런지 여기서부터 막 딜이 막 쌓이면서 결국 이 장면을 본 많은
So you did a lot of damage throughout the game.
있었다라는 표현 자체의 수준이 너무 낮았구나. 이 정도는 돼야지 매드구나.
Well, we were actually saying that it was a mad performance from Yuka. It was really, literally crazy.
우리 그 해설위원들도 좀 많은 것 같은데요. 어떤 궁금한 점이 있었어요?
Any questions from the casters?
저는 사실 이
네.
유칼 선수에게 궁금한 게
네.
So I have a question for Yuka.
챔피언이잖아요.
You know, Yasuo is a very risky champion, but you only died out once in the game.
세 번은 죽는 LCK에서 그런 모습이 나왔었는데 어떻게 하면 좀
So what is your tip for playing Yasuo without dying?
생존력에 관련된
야소라는 챔프는 상대를 죽이려기보다
Well,
오히려 몇 대 못 때리더라도 자기가 한 대 더
well, what is actually important about Yasuo is like not getting
게임하면 되는 것 같아요.
cut out during the team fights. You know, you have to survive in the end of the team fight, and you have to manage to put more damage as a dealer, as a damage dealer.
강한 챔피언일수록 자기 강함에 심취해가지고 죽을 확률이 높아지거든요.
So the stronger the champion is, maybe you are able to like die more because you know that you're too strong, so you go too deep inside. But you have to be aware of that.
탐켄치가 뭔지를 보였던 것 같은 멋진 장면들이 많았었습니다. 사실 이 전에는 상대편의 그
Moving on to game 3.
KT 팀 내에서의 강력한 공격력을 약간 자제시키는 그런
I think Tom Kent was a very significant pick for KT Rolster.
탐켄치가 많았었거든요. 어떤
Hence,
내부에서의
the Tom Kent in the game 3 was quite aggressive.
일단 탑을 제외하고는 이제 주도권이
But except for the top lane,
네,
we all had laning priorities, so we wanted to take advantage of that.
하게 되면은 이제 싸움을 보고
So if
있었는데
you open team fight near the Herald,
혼자서 오는
I knew that we were gonna be in a lead.
그리고 잘라먹는 상황이 이제 나왔던 것 같아요.
네, 근데 그 장면도 있었습니다만 사실 그 첫 번째 실질적으로 다리우스와 갱플랭크의 상황이 있어서 어려움을 겪을 수
So
있는
in the top
상황이
lane,
실제로 생겼잖아요.
Smeb had some hard times, right?
갑자기 인원이 확 몰리면서 탑 쪽에서 정리하는 모습이
But you
있었거든요.
guys
그때는
tried some new macro, and
탑다이브
3 people were on the top lane and made a dive over there.
그 전에 이제 솔킬이 나오는 그런 장면이었고 이 장면도 이 장면.
이 장면에서는 이제 저만
So at this
텔이 있는
moment,
상황이어서
I was the only player with teleport, so even though the enemy jungler would be here, we knew that it would be a 3v2 fight, so we were feeling really confident.
약간 넉넉하게 배치된 그 보람을 느낄 수 있었던 탑 쪽에서 돌려받는 장면이었습니다. 그거 말고도 미드 스웨인에서 정령의 영상이 등장을
And
했는데
so this is a question for you, Yuko. So you went for Spirit Visage on Swain mid lane.
네, 이거 좀 무슨 영감을 받은 장면이 있었어요?
Any specific reason for that?
생각해서 죽지만 않으면은 다 잡을 수 있겠구나.
Well, I felt like we're in a huge lead, so I just wanted to survive as long as I can during the team fights.
선수가 말하니까 더 좀 약간 의아하기도 하네요. 워낙 공격적인 장면도 많이 보여주고 실질적인 딜량도 많은데
So Yuko, you used to be a very aggressive player, but speaking of the tank item build, it's really impressive.
저는 그 KT를
Any question from the casters?
그 탐켄치 시청자분들은 그런 말씀을 하십니다. 아, 이건 업적이다. 뭔가를 막아주는
Well,
역할을 하는
I want to ask
실제로
about the
팀 내에서도
Tamkench pick.
탐켄치의 티어를 꽤나 높게 생각하는지 궁금하고요.
So
탐켄치를
is it one of the
가져갈 때
most
그런 장점이라든지 좀 이런
powerful
궁금하게
support
되게
pick in the current meta?
픽 중에 하나거든요.
그럼 마타 선수가 좀 대답해 주시면 좋을 것 같아요. 어떨까요?
뭐 팀 내에서는 나쁘게
Well, yeah, I think our team value Tamkench a lot,
사용하고 있고요.
so we prefer using it as support.
개인적으로는 좀
And I personally
좋은 픽은
think
아니라고
that it's
생각하는데
not a really good
이제
support
저희
pick.
팀에 좀 죽는 선수들이 많다
But you know, a lot of our
이거를
teammates used to die in games a lot, so I'm kind of trying to like
약간 이런
make that last happen.
의도적으로 그런 건 아니지만 이제 좀더
Well, that was not our intention, but yeah, I think Tamkench support kind of adds more consistency in our team comp.
말랑말랑하는 그 물잔을 잘 컨트롤하는 그 픽 아니겠습니까? 마타만이 할 수 있는.
사실 저 라서 할 수 있는 게 아니고
Well, it's not my own like signature pick,
슈퍼 플레이를 많이
but I think I can help other players to make super plays if I play support Tamkench.
사실 이게 리프드라이버즈에서 전승하면서 이제 함께하고 됐고 이제 2라운드가 들어오면서 기존에 있었던 또 다른 선수까지
You guys performed really well in the Rift Rivals, and you guys are now back in LCK.
오늘 6승을 또 딱 찍었고 3위권이 난리가 났거든요. 지금 상위권 지금 난립니다.
Well, but all the LCK teams are so intense, and you know they are at their best performance currently. So, what are your comments about the current status?
머릿속에 좀 그려지나요, 유칼 선수는?
전체적으로 상위팀 모두 긴장해야 될
I think
상대라고
all of
생각하고
the teams
있기
in the higher
때문에
rank should be
누구를
really
만나도 항상
feeling
긴장하고
insecure because every team can get stronger and stronger throughout the
사실
splits.
어떤 기자분 같은 경우는 대놓고 이런 얘기를 항상 하세요. 지금 상황에서 KT가 원래 강팀인 거 맞았는데 지금 이
Some people say
모습을 보이지 않았던 멤버까지 더해주고 그리고 2라운드 리프트
KT Rolster will be stronger in the second round robin in Summer
이런
Split.
얘기를 하시는 기자분이 계시거든요, 제 주변에. 여기 대해서는 어떻게 파악하고
What are your
계세요?
comments
어떻게
about that?
판단하세요, 본인은?
뭐 개인적인 생각이기 때문에 네, 그런 건
Well,
존중하는데
I do appreciate that, but our team
보여드려야 될 것 같아요.
want to prove it with our results.
조심하게, 조심스럽게 미소를 먹으면서 얘기했었던 그 마타 선수의 얘기였습니다. 시청자 질문이 들어왔네요. 시청자 질문.
So we have a question from the
한번
fans.
살펴볼까요? 어떤 내용인지?
So the first one is,
경기도 이기면 팬들에게
so would you like to make a simple pledge or promise for winning the next series?
서름이네요. 가위바위보로. 가위바위보. 졌네요. 예. 이겼으니까 공약?
Anyone?
이겼으니까 공약? 네,
이긴
이겼으니까.
사람이 하는 거예요?
이긴 사람.
So I'm the one who won, so I'm gonna make it.
다음 경기를 이기면은
if we win our next matchup,
유카엘 선수의 사인이 담긴 마우스를 선물로.
we're gonna give away mouse with Yukao's signature on it, autograph on it.
직접 추첨할게요. 그럼 되나요?
유카엘 선수가 마무리하면 될 것 같아요.
어떻게 되는 거죠?
네.
What are your thoughts, Yukao?
오케이 오케이.
I'm good.
오케이 진짜 추첨을 통해서 여러분께 유카엘 선수의
So, in your next match in Nixon Arena, we're gonna give away Yukao's mouse with his autograph on it.
준비를 해봤어요. 자, 바로 이제 다음 경기 이제 SKT이기 때문에 아마 더 이런 말씀 드린 것 같습니다.
So your next opponent will be SK Telecom.
끝으로 일단은 많은 팬 여러분께서 오늘 또 2세트, 3세트 때문에 더 달아올랐습니다.
And a lot of fans are out here cheering for you.
한 경기를 본다면 난 KT 경기를 볼 거야라는 분들이 계속 늘어나고 계시거든요. 끝으로 팬 여러분께 한 말씀
Any last message for them?
저희가 1라운드 성적이 그렇게 좋지 않았는데
Our results in the first round robin was not that satisfying, but we're gonna try to win all the matchups in the second round robin to satisfy our fans.
마무리도 부탁드릴게요. 오늘 아버님도 오셨더라고요.
What about you, Mara? I saw your father out here to support you.
오셨더라고요. 뭐 저는 좀 가족 관계에 그렇게 관심이 없기 때문에.
Well,
네,
our families are not close with each other, so I actually didn't know.
시간이 없어요.
But maybe next time I can go say hi to him.
팀이 앞으로 좋은 모습을
As a KT Rolster, we're gonna try hard to show better performance throughout the split. So keep cheering for us. Thank you.
저도 아버지하고 눈 맞추면 약간 민망하거든요.
You know, son and a father, they are always so shy with each other.
서먹서먹하지만 애정을 충분히 전달한 얘기였던 것 같습니다. 자, 그래서 KT로서 2대1로 굉장히 멋진 승리를 따내면서 아프리카 프릭스.
So wrapping up, KT Rolster picked up 2-1 victory against Afreeca Freecs, and I will pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
멋진 경기의 승리 한번 기원해 보도록 하겠습니다. 다시 한번 오늘 승리 따낸 이 두 명의 선수에게 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Thank you, Jason, for the wonderful translation. Good to hear from Mata, the cornerstone of KT, as well as the new buck, Yukao, in the mid lane. Put his daddy pants on the Swain and the Yasuo. Carried in both games, deserved a MVP for at least one of them. Mata for game 2, or rather 3 as well. And look at that, they're exactly tied after today's results.
And also the head-to-head, I believe, is 3-3. So there's actually a tiebreaker required if this was the end of the season to work out who would finish in 5th spot. Looking at this week's schedule, weird and wonderful. Only one SPO TV day on the Sunday. KT did beat the Afreeca Freecs. That means we have one order of business left after a short break. Hanwha Life Esports versus Gen G. Another one that could probably go 3 games as well, Valdez.
Yeah, definitely the smell of that series wafting into the studio. Yeah, it's wafting in. And yes, it should be a good one, right? I mean, Hanwha Life is definitely beginning to secure a small corner in my mind that's saying, hey, like everybody's ignoring this team, but they're defeating good team after great team after fantastic team, and now they're sitting in 2nd place. I mean, this team is actually really, really good.
If we're going to look at trends, I think Hanwha Life on the up. I think Gen G on the down. So if that holds, Hanwha Life will pick up a big victory. Maybe now's the time to strike. I'm interested to see the Gen G lineup because Crown made his big return last time out. Will he be playing today? The jungle tete-a-tete is always there. Will it be Ambition? Will it be Haru? We'll get that confirmation soon. I'm guessing it's going to be about 20 minutes, guys. We're going to be starting pretty far behind schedule. But 3 more games. Let's roll it out. 18 games in 3 days. Papa's ready.
Yeah. You had 2 2-1s in both of the previous days. Thursday, or rather Friday, Saturday, and now Sunday. Could definitely go to game 3. My prediction was 2-0 for Hanwha Life, but really anything can happen. Join us, guys, in 20 minutes for that next matchup. See you soon.
I see you slowly on your own. I see you always wanna go somewhere to waste your gold.
It's been many days, many ways misled, knowing that I'm tiptoeing on both sides of the fence, trying to figure it out. but I'm living in doubt. So scared one day that your grace might run out. Cause I'm so far from perfect, so close to worthless. Feeling no good for worship. Trying to understand this life that you purchased. Am I just a man destined for death, or do I deserve it? You died for my sins and that's the verdict. You carried out God's true will and purpose with urgency for the sake of love. Forgiveness in eternity, your grace is enough. I got so many questions, so many things to change. I'm calling out, but sometimes you're far away. I get discouraged and seem to always fall flat. But that's when you pick me up and bring me back.